wrote a song back in the mid-'90s for a group called Diamond Rio, a song called Unbelievable. I wrote it with Al Anderson, Big Al, and Big Al was my hero, NRBQ, guitar player. NRBQ was the band that all the bands went to listen to, the Stones, the Beatles. When they wanted to hear great music, they went and saw NRBQ. That was their jam. And so Al was the guitar player in that band, and when he came to Nashville, boy, I was just lit up. And when I finally got to write with him, the first thing we wrote was Unbelievable. Well, it's like the first song we wrote. And so I was at a point in my career where I was, trying to do it right. And I had like the pop culture dictionary, rhyming dictionary, had my laptop, which was weighed about 25 pounds back then. You had this big, huge briefcase full of books because I was a professional songwriter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I had a publishing deal. I'm playing with Al, and I'm getting, again, a long way around to your answer, but he's playing this just sick groove. And it started off where I had no idea that day, and I knew I was going to be my first time writing with him. I was like, what am I going to do? I got nothing. But I was tapping a triplet on my steering wheel, driving in through Green Hills. I was like going, kissable, huggable, lovable, unbelievable, kissable, huggable, lovable. I don't know what it was. I just tapping it on my kissable, huggable, lovable. So I get to the writing room, and Al's like, what do you got? Big Al, he's 6'8". And I go, man, I really got nothing, but I was tapping this triplet. Kissable, huggable, lovable, just like kind of doing that on my steering wheel. And he's just scowling at me, and he just goes, I love that. And he starts doing that sloppy, that sloppy groove that he played. And we start writing it, and then we get all the way through this song in like an hour, and it's got all these 5-syllable rhymes going, blah, 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 just shotgunning all these rhymes, right? And there was one, this is a great story. This is one of my favorite stories because we're 30 minutes to an hour into this song. It's pretty much, this is going to be an awesome song. But we got this one spot where there's a word not fitting, words not dropping. It needs to be a long one, and because that's the kind of cadence of the song. So I immediately, I get out my pop culture, I get out my thesaurus, and I'm just flipping through, looking for 5-syllable words, 4-syllable words. I'm like, I spent like 45 minutes just looking through all these books. They're all spread out on the desk.
Been there, done.
And Al's just sitting there looking at me. He's just scowling at me, and he goes, hey. And I'm like, I'm all into it. He's like, hey. And I look up, I go, what? He goes, gotta haveable. I said, what? He goes, gotta haveable. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, that's the word. I go, that's not a word. He goes, well, it is now. The song's done. And that, and it was a song that was, all those kind of words. And he made one up. And that was that moment. That was that epiphany moment, the arrow through the Steve Martin arrow through the head, like, wow. Oh, yeah, I'm a songwriter. I can write anything I want. I can make up a word.
Yep.
I can make it fun.
Yep.
There were little moments where I learned these things. I call them tricks or whatever you can call them. But Al's thing was always like it's not what you play, it's what you don't play. He would always tell me that. Because I was always one of these guys that wanted to play. I wanted to show you all the chords.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, Steely, it's what you don't play. I'm like what? He'd say, less is more. So I always had this joke with him where we'd be in a room, and I go, hey, less is more, right? He goes, less is more. I go, yeah, but even more is even more.
Yeah, there's your tension.
But and so that word gotta haveable, when the song became a hit, right? It became a massive hit for Diamond Rio. I remember we saw the semi going by with this big watermelon that said Unbelievable on it, like that was the name of their tour. And I was getting calls for all these interviews, to do all these interviews. And the first thing they would ask is, what's that word gotta haveable? in the last verse, I'm like, oh, well, we made it up. I took credit for it, but of course gave it to Al. But you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh yeah, we thought of this word, gotta haveable. But that was the first thing they asked about in every interview, which was another signal to me of like, okay, that's all they care about. I diligently with all of my technique and form threw out all those amazing words, and all they're asking me about is this made-up word that Big Al came up with.
Right.
I ended up calling my publishing company God Havable Music, and of course tipped my hat to Al, and Al was always that guy to me. He always reminded me how important it was to just let something happen. Don't overthink stuff. Just let it. It will happen if you just stop and breathe and let it come down, man, and don't think about it. He was genius at that, you know. So
And that was when?
90, probably wrote it in 96. I think it came out in 98, but it wrote it in 96. And for me, with Al's groove, we had one earlier with Leanne Rimes, a song called Big Deal, which had that same kind of groove. Of course, when it became a record, got straightened out. It didn't have the same slosh to it that Al had. But what it was doing to me, it was showing me how to write lyrics, to put down my guitar, and how to, again, be a guitar player with lyrics, and how to figure out his thing, and how to weave it within his thing, and be true to his thing, and not clog his thing, and because he was a genius at what he did, and it just opened the door for me. My thought processes were, it's just like I said in the very beginning, the little garden. It let me go into my world, and just by trusting his thing, like not trying to filter his thing, do anything to his groove, just try to live within it, and just try to go, what's the layer that goes with his thing to make it great, and it still lets his thing shine. And I think that's an important thing. I don't know if it gets lost these days or not. I'm not precious to my era, but you get older and everything's not as good as it was. But it's not true though. There's such great music out there right now. But you know what I mean. Like, you get precious to your era a little bit. But that was always the things that I looked for. When I was with other people that were extremely talented, it's hard, and I have a gift and a talent, and you got to learn how to check yourself sometimes and go, hey man, that guy's just as amazing at doing something as you're doing over here. So let him shine, and shine with him, and don't try to overshine. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? But try to coexist within it, and find each guy's greatness, girl's greatness, whatever, and embellish it the best you can. And that's still a learning process for me. It's still something I'm learning how to do.